Hi everybody, this is Lowell, and we're talking about how to start a music school. And in this section, I'm talking about how to interrelate and interact with teachers that are working for you. And today's encouragement is that you're going to need at times to bring correction. And some people call it redirection. That's kind of a psychological way of trying to reframe a negative to a positive. But it really, you do need to see correction as a positive. If there are problems that are ongoing, then you do need to deal with them with your teachers. I've found that if you let things go for quite a while, that they just end up spiraling or getting worse, or people have a tendency to think negatively. And so if you don't have communication that's regular, then you're going to end up having problems that fester and get bigger and bigger. So what I would encourage you to do, and this is a three-step process that I learned from, I think John Maxwell is the one that first taught it, but the three-step process of confrontation is: number one, to have a better understanding; number two, to have a positive change; and then number three, to have a growing relationship. And so you are going to have to be bold to bring up certain issues that the teacher is needing to understand in terms of the framework that you want. Now, I'm the kind of leader that I like giving people autonomy, and I believe that honors them, and that shows that you actually trust them, and that you want them to grow and to become all that they can be, and that you're not going to try to hold them back. But there are certain parameters that you want them to live by, and those are some of the standards that we've already talked about in these video series. But generally, just being prompt, to their lessons, being courteous to the clients, being obviously prepared, having their instruments and their materials ready. Those are just some basics. And in our school, we put a premium on training the student how to read music, and as well as playing in ensembles, playing in groups. And we kind of have baked into our process a accountability factor, and that is that every quarter we have a recital, a gathering. Pardon me, we do have a formal recital on a yearly basis, but then we have an informal type of recital for all of the kids to participate in, that's at the mall and on the stage at the mall, and other venues that are less formal than the concert stage. And but that gives the student and the teacher a accountability factor built in. And so in order to lead an organization, you have to provide accountability, and accountability does mean that you're going to have to bring correction to the teacher. And so if you approach correction in a positive way, like if some of those things that I just outlined for us, is not happening or not being, the parents will let us know, if there's a problem. Usually they'll be calling because they're paying money for the lessons, and so they want to know that there's, we want to know. We want to know if there's a problem. And sometimes when alarm bells start going off, you can put two and two together and figure out what's happening. And it leads you back to the teacher to provide accountability and a little bit of training, a little bit of teaching, a little bit of coaching. Generally people want to learn. Generally people want to stay on board with you. Usually they just need a little bit of brushing up on a few items. And so I approach our teachers with respect, and every person deserves respect. Nobody should be talked down to. There's no need for that type of approach. This top-down leadership model. Maybe it worked at one time. I don't know. I tend to think that it never worked very well, but for sure it doesn't work in today's culture. And for sure it doesn't square with biblical values that I hold, is that each person is created in God's image and each person deserves respect. So when you confront, you're doing it for the purpose of everybody's overall benefit. And again, the three goals of confrontation are a better understanding, for me to get a better understanding, as well as the teacher. There's communication that happens, and then a positive change based upon that new understanding. Because whenever there's friction or problem, it's because you're not on the same page. And so better understanding and communication gets you onto the same page. And then once you're on the same page, then you can make the adjustments. Maybe it's me as a leader that, I'm not giving the teacher the resources that they need or the understanding that they need. And so a positive change happens, and then the ultimate result is a growing relationship. And it's amazing to me, over the years I've found this, that whenever I have sometimes healthy confrontation and sometimes not so healthy, where there's some a little bit of anger flying, it always amazes me that after those, that our relationship deepens and they become some of the most dear friends that I have today are people that I've had, almost knockout, drag out discussions with them. And so I think there's something to that where we learn to respect each other more and communicate on, a more intense level. But then over time, the friendship deepens. And so I don't know why that is. I can kind of guess, but confrontation is really a healthy and a good thing to have in any relationship.